Celtic were back in action last night as they beat Kilmarnock in the Scottish Cup. In today's video, we will discuss the fallout from that game, whilst going over all the latest Celtic news from the last 24 hours. But first, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel for more Celtic content. Celtic defender Alistair Johnston revealed how he sees Wednesday's Champions League clash against Young Boys at Celtic Park. With a win for Celtic against the Swiss champions all but securing a place in the Champions League knockout playoffs, it's a huge night for Johnston and the Hoops, with the Canadian playing a crucial part in Celtic's success across all competitions this season. Johnston has been a stalwart in the Celtic defence since joining the club 2 years ago, and this season has really taken his game to a new level, adding the attacking threat he lacked during the first year of his time at the Hoops. Working under Brendan Rodgers has unlocked a new lease on his game, with the Canadian now at times playing more as a traditional fullback. This change has allowed the likes of Kyogo and Dyson Maeda to get on the end of Johnston's superb crosses, with Dingwall a week ago serving as an example for Celtic's opener. With Celtic likely to face a tough challenge against Young Boys, Johnston compared the game to others he has played during his time at the club. He said, "It's massive. We know where we are in the table and how important the points could be. At the end of the day, this is the one you look at. It could be like a cup final for us if you get the points you need, because you will probably secure a knockout round place. And you don't really want to be going to Villa away needing something. Villa are comfortable, but they'll still want as many points as possible to be high up the table. We know Villa won't be easy at all, so it's important that we make it count on Wednesday. It's a massive chance, and I'm looking forward to it. The atmosphere is going to be unbelievable. Celtic Park under the lights and with a lot on the line." Johnston couldn't sound more excited for Wednesday's game. Just like every Celtic supporter, it's certainly one of the biggest in the Hoops' recent history. Given the consistent domestic success, the chance to reach the next round of the Champions League for the first time since 2013 feels special, and the Celtic dressing room can certainly sense this. With players like Callum McGregor and James Forrest in the starting 11 for over a decade, they will have been vital in stressing to teammates just how much a win will mean to the club and Celtic fans. Now for the main story, Brendan Rodgers revealed his thoughts on Celtic's narrow 2-1 win over Kilmarnock this evening at Celtic Park, with the scoreline ultimately flattering Killie. Celtic secured a place in the 5th round of the Scottish Cup with arguably one of the toughest draws of the round. The Hoops dominated the game for large spells, however, a lack of clinical finishing has been apparent in recent games, with Dundee on Tuesday at Dens Park being another example. Nevertheless, the boys certainly created chances at will today. However, it is clear that there is room for improvement in the squad, both by adding players this month in the transfer market and by working in training to clear up slip-ups that have begun to creep in recently. Celtic were pretty flawless up until the new year, Dortmund away aside, but there can't help but be a thought in the back of Rodgers' mind that there is a sense of staleness within the team. Even 1 or 2 new signings could add the extra freshness, similar to what he tried to do this time last year with Adam Eder and Nicholas Kuhn. Rodgers is an experienced coach who has been through the course and will be more aware than anyone of how he can add that fire to the squad. With the Irishman looking to highlight a lack of killer instinct in front of goal post-match, while also hinting at possible transfers over the next fortnight with the window closing at the end of the month. He said, "It was a game that should have been a lot more comfortable than the scoreline. I'm not really sure what XG is, but I'd be interested to know what ours was. We reacted in the second half, kept fighting, kept working. The objective was to get through, and we did that. We know exactly what we want to do in the window. Up to this point, the players have been very good, but we know what we need and what we want." A strong message from Rodgers. The finishing needs to be taken up a gear, having created clear-cut opportunities in front of goal. Celtic did, however, fight back in style in the second half, which is a positive sign that when things aren't going all the Hoops' way, like with a Killie goal just before half-time to level the game, they found the winner in the second half to see out the game. With Rodgers also looking to point out the January transfer window, you can't help but expect that he may look to add a number of attackers instead of just one. In other news, Kilmarnock manager Derek McInnes was in full meltdown post-match after Celtic edged past his Kilmarnock side 2-1 to secure a place in the 5th round of the Scottish Cup. The former Aberdeen coach was certainly not happy with the game, instead of blaming his team for what was a lacklustre display in which Celtic could have won more comfortably, with the Ayrshire side falling out of the game in the second half. McInnes was left disappointed at two moments in the game, with Nicholas Kuhn through on goal one-on-one against Kilmarnock keeper Robbie McCrory after a minute. The Hoops winger accidentally made contact with the former Rangers goalkeeper's cheek, leading to him being substituted just 4 minutes into the game. The other moment, which may have flown under the radar for Celtic supporters, would be a free kick before Dyson Maeder's strike in the second half, which the Scotsman questioned and claimed to have seen footage of after the game, which clears up the situation completely, apparently leaving the officials in the wrong. McInnes said, "Our biggest fear is that he's fractured his cheekbone. He's away getting an X-ray just now, but with the way the NHS is at the moment, we might not know until Monday. The doctor seems to think it's his cheekbone. We're preparing ourselves for the worst news with him." Then Brad went off with a hamstring. "We came here depleted as well. The cards were stacked against us with the draw. When the team line came in from Celtic, they were at full strength. That's Celtic's strongest team, so we had to contend with that." McInnes continued with criticism of referee Nick Walsh's decision to award a free kick to Celtic in the build-up to Maeder's winner. He said, "It should have been a foul for us. How the fourth official can give it the other way, I don't know. I saw it back. Austin Trusty fouled Watkins. Then they don't take it from where the foul was. It's 20 yards further forward. It was quickly put out to the other side while we're still debating it, and 20 seconds later, it's in the back of our net. If we're not going to get the foul, at least make sure it's taken from the right spot. Nicholas Kuhn is a top player, and he slides Maeder into score. There are acceptable ways to lose a cup tie, and I thought we did that today." A strong post-match interview from McInnes, with Kilmarnock clearly second best to Celtic at Celtic Park this evening. You wouldn't blame Brendan Rodgers for being the angrier of the two post-match, due to the Hoops' lack of killer instinct in front of goal at times. However, the former Rangers midfielder deflects questioning refereeing decisions and unfortunate collisions, instead of looking to point out where his team could improve next time against Celtic. In other news, Brendan Rodgers has praised Austin Trusty's performance against Kilmarnock at Celtic Park this evening after criticising the US defenders defending post-match on Tuesday against Dundee. Rodgers, who was unhappy with his poor showing against Tony Docherty's side at Dens Park, instead looked to heap praise on the Celtic defender today after what was a huge improvement in just 4 days. It was a huge show of faith from Rodgers in Trusty after previously subbing him at half-time in the Premier Sports Cup final in December following an underwhelming first half. The Irishman has shown a different approach this time, giving the US defender an immediate opportunity to bounce back against a resolute Kilmarnock side in a cup knockout game. It was an impressive display against Derek McInnes' side this evening, with some of the support huge fans of Liam Scales and others favouring Trusty. It is one of the positions in the team that divides the Celtic support, with both, at times this season, putting in man-of-the-match performances and being susceptible to costly mistakes in Celtic games. This has meant a tough decision for Rodgers over who starts alongside Cameron Carter-Vickers, with the Irishman revealing how he sees Trusty's role in the team at the time of writing. He said, "I will say, as I talked about Austin Trusty the other night, and then you see his response, I thought it was excellent today. Big, strong, powerful, and that's what we expect from a Celtic centre-half." He'd realised himself, a lot of the time at Celtic, you may not have so much to do, especially at home. You're there, and I always think that you get your chance to shine away from home, where you've got to stand up and be strong, and that's your bread and butter. Then there'll be times at home, like today, where you've got to stand up and be counted, and I thought he was brilliant at that. I spoke to him after the Dundee game. I spoke to him the next day. You draw a line under it, he knows exactly where he stands. These are men, they're not little boys. You can talk openly and honestly to them, and that's what every player will tell you. His response was excellent. He was good in training, so he had to train. You could see his focus, and that's what I expect, because in the big games, the Leipzig, Atalanta, he's been colossal in those games. Going by Rodgers' words, it looks like Trusty will start alongside Carter-Vickers against Young Boys on Wednesday night ahead of Scales. Despite a poor showing against Dundee since the Glasgow Derby defeat on 2nd January, the US defender has been consistently favoured over Scales, and it would be a serious surprise for Rodgers to spring the Irishman into the starting 11 when the team sheet is announced ahead of the game against the Swiss champions. He may not have been perfect in his time at the club, but as his performance against Atalanta away in Bergamo showed in the Champions League, Trusty has dealt well with pressure from European opponents. It appears, after an adult discussion with Rodgers in recent days over his post-match comments on Tuesday, that the Celtic centre-back will be given time to rediscover his form, with yesterday evening against Kilmarnock being the best example of that. Celtic fans, what are your thoughts on what we discussed in today's video? Let us know down in the comment section below. That does bring us to the end of today's video. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more Celtic content. Thank you,